Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the Rookie Stripes podcast here on Racing News Now. I'm Garth, Allan, and over there is the one and only Mr. Tyler Guthrie. With his new mic, we can hear him tonight. Let's hear him in all of his glory. Tyler, how are you tonight?
Well, prepare to be disappointed, but at least you can be disappointed in full whatever sound quality. I don't know this is like 32-bit or something. I don't know.
The same way people were disappointed when HD first became a thing and you started seeing people more clearly and you realized they weren't as hot as you thought they were.
I take offense to that.
I was more talking about me than anyone else, but you know what? If you feel guilty, that's on you.
Hey,
I mean, they call you pretty boy at work, so
somebody's got to do it.
I guess so.
Ain't gonna be anybody else, apparently.
I guess not. So we had a lot of racing happening this week.
Well,
Tyler,
until the Cup Series showed up.
Well, until Atlanta showed up.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there were things happening in the truck and Xfinity races, but I wouldn't necessarily call it racing for the most part. It was more single file choo-choo.
Yeah, well, while we both enjoy trains and work at a railroad, don't really want to see that when we're watching NASCAR.
No, not at all. That does not make for entertaining NASCAR. But yet, New Atlanta's great. If you listen to Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, and Tony Stewart on the broadcast, it's best track on the schedule.
Yeah, not really.
No, not at all.
What was it, Justin Allgaier that complained about the racing, and then immediately they cut back to the booth, and they go like, "This is amazing!"
Yeah.
Right after Justin Allgaier said it was awful.
Right, Logano's just like, I know that Allgaier just got taken out, and he's frustrated, but look at this racing; it's great. Says the guy that wins the next day.
Yeah, it helps when you dominate the crap out of the race the next day.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be fair, he hadn't dominated that race yet, but still, it is his style of racing, as he is pretty good at Daytona and Talladega to begin with. So, what are you shaking your head for?
Atlanta.
New Atlanta is gonna New Atlanta.
It's different.
Bring back old Atlanta. I saw Corey Heim tweeted after the truck race. He's like, do you think they still have the old pavement underneath?
I wish they did.
I really do too.
There's so many instant classics from Atlanta in even recent history with Car Tomorrow and Gen 4 before that, but I don't know. It's different, and I guess we'll learn to live with it, but I don't think anybody asked for a mini Daytona.
No, nobody asked for this. Now, I will say, I commend NASCAR, and I guess in this case, SMI, since they're the track owner and they're the ones that did this. I commend them for thinking outside of the box and trying new things, because you don't want to just stay stagnant forever, because that's how everybody gets bored with you and everybody leaves. You got to be trying new things. But it should have been done with a different track. Texas. Something that already is crap. Not a track that was actually good, and if you'd repaved it, probably still would have been good, and probably actually would have been better than it was before it got repaved, because there in the later years, it wasn't great. I think that was mostly because of the Gen 6 car, but even if you'd repaved Atlanta, I think it still would have been okay, but instead, we destroy one of the best tracks on the schedule when we've got a car that can actually race on it for this. I mean, yes, we had a last lap pass today for the win, but I don't even remember how it happened. I genuinely do not remember. I remember Brad Keselowski was leading at the white flag, and then I remember Joey Logano won. I do not remember what happened between the white flag and the checkered flag. That's how unmemorable this racing is. Nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted this. But we're stuck with it now because it's new pavement. They're not going to dig it all up and repave it again 2 years after they did it. So we're stuck with this for probably 15 years at least.
Yeah, and now we got the crazy pit road entry that's a whole nother story. Now you lose 2 laps on an oval when you pit.
Well, So that only becomes an issue if there's a caution during green flag pit stops, because once everybody cycles through, everybody's lost that 2 laps, so it comes back around. So I don't have so much of a problem with that.
Even if you get a penalty, though, then you're automatically 2 laps down. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do about it. I mean, NASCAR makes it ridiculously easy to get back on the lead lap pretty much no matter where you're coming from, so that's not that big of a deal. But basically, the racing for Atlanta this week in the Cup Series, definitely, the other series, sort of, it turned into the reason why we moved the Clash away from Daytona. Just a single file line across the top of the track for 95% of the race, and oh, look, there's a pass for the lead. All right.
Yeah, it's not entertaining. There's
No.
nothing about that race today. Like, I feel like that was the most waste of a Sunday afternoon I've ever had in my life. And I really feel bad about saying that about a NASCAR race, because I truly love NASCAR, and I don't see that ever changing. But I do not love New Atlanta. It's absolutely terrible. And if you like New Atlanta, more power to you. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong, but I am
Even
going to
if
tell
you are,
I am going to tell you you're probably in the minority there.
to say the least. I don't know. I can see how, from a casual perspective, maybe it's sort of entertaining. The Cup race, no, but the Xfinity race, sure. I think I have a gripe
The
with
Xfinity
the
race was exciting for the people that like to watch crashes.
right. I think I had even a bigger problem with the length of the race. I know it used to be 500 miles. This year they made it 400 miles, but I still think for a track like that, 400 miles is still way too long. I think we had a conversation about this earlier in the year. There should be maybe 4 or 5 500 or 600-mile races on the schedule, and maybe a couple 400 milers. But tracks like this, I don't really think they deserve more than 300 miles, because really for the Cup race, it just made it even more boring than it should have been. Whereas at least in the Xfinity race, they're kind of breaking it up with. Of course, I guess we never really had any giant green flag runs in the Xfinity race, but it's
We did in
getting
stage
broken up.
3. Once
Yeah,
they finally got their act together in stage 3, we got some decent green flag runs. But
but
again, it was just single file trains most of the time.
still, I mean, in the Cup race, your final stage is what, 200 miles almost of just nothing. I mean, there's nothing to break it up, and like that's the reason why we put the stages in the first place, is to break up the racing, make it more competitive. But then you get this 400-mile race where you're just running a single line across the top of the track for 3/4 of it. It makes it even worse. At least in the Xfinity race, stuff was happening. I know they tore up a whole bunch of stuff, and somehow the trucks and Xfinity both broke the series record for number of cautions in a race at Atlanta, which, okay, but, you know,
I don't know that that's something we need to be proud of necessarily.
no, I don't think so. And it's a direct product of the racing this track is going to make. There's no way around that.
So, and circling back to your point about that there shouldn't be many 500-mile races, I agree. And for 2 reasons. One, I don't think people have the attention spans for long races like that every week now. But I think the bigger reason is these cars are so much more bulletproof now than they were 20, 30 years ago, where the excitement of having that long of a race 20, 30 years ago was who's going to make it to the end, who's got a good enough engine to make it to the end, who's going to be able to outlast the competition, who's not going to have a mechanical issue, who's not going to have a blown tire, who's not going to get in a wreck. Now, really, the wreck is about the only one of those that's left. We don't hardly blow engines anymore. We don't have very many mechanical issues. So for the most part, everybody's making it to the end unless they get caught up in a wreck. So it's not the attrition of those long races are not there anymore. So I agree. If the cars are going to remain this bulletproof, we don't need these long races. Now, keep a couple races longer distances for the nostalgia and the history and the tradition. Coke 600 should stay 600 miles for the tradition.
Darlington, Southern 500,
Southern 500, Daytona 500. I would
What
say
used to be the
Talladega.
Pepsi 400,
Yeah,
sure.
I would say Talladega should stay 500 miles,
Yeah.
but with the current super speedway racing, I don't necessarily. If they can fix the super speedway racing and make it actually exciting again, I'd be okay with Talladega staying 500 miles. But with how the super speedway racing is now, there's no point in it being 500 miles. It's just wasted mileage for no reason.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree with you. There's some specific races that, yeah, okay, we need to keep them this length. But
Mm-hmm.
with the current attention span of most people that are like, here's my deal. NASCAR is trying to appeal to new viewers that are just getting into it. And if you are just starting to watch something on Sunday afternoon, a day most people have off to do whatever they need to do you really want to sit there and watch cars go in a circle in a line for 3.5 hours? Like, I mean, I love NASCAR the same as you, but I don't want to watch cars drive in a circle for 3.5 hours. I want to watch them race.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just none of that here anymore.
Well, and I understand why the drivers get into the single file line is they're trying to avoid getting into these big wrecks before they get to the end, before they have to start racing to get the position to get toward the win. But
it doesn't benefit you at all to go 3 wide the entire race.
Right. But at the same time, it makes for a very boring race to watch for 90% of the race. And it's just, it's useless.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if they would recognize this, you know? I mean, you don't want to go to the track and say, "Hey, your racing sucks, so we're going to cut your mileage in half." I mean, then you're losing broadcast commercial time and all that. I don't know. It's one of those things that it's another reason why I like watching the Xfinity series, actually, because I think normally the Xfinity races are about the length the Cup races should be.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Xfinity race, although they just kept crashing, was more enjoyable to watch than the Cup race. And I don't know.
I agree that it was more enjoyable to watch, but at the same time, I still didn't think it was good.
No, I agree. You only had like Parker Kligerman working in bottom for most of the race, and it just
Yeah, he was the only one really trying to do anything most of the time, and I was really disappointed he didn't get the win there. Daniel Hemrick really seemed to not want him to win that race for some
he
reason.
really didn't want him to win.
Yeah.
Gosh, they came out of turn 4, and Daniel Hemrick said, "If I'm not winning, Parker Kligerman ain't winning either." Yeah,
He
and
took a page out of Denny Hamlin's book.
I don't understand the thought process behind taking Atlanta from this almost 4 lane track that we used to have to a guaranteed 1 or 2 lane just parade.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I don't either. And with the racing we saw at 1.5 miles last year, with this, and I know Vegas wasn't great, so it worries me that 1.5 miles this year aren't going to be as good as they were last year. But if they hadn't done this to Atlanta, even if they had just repaved it and kept it exactly as it was before this, the next gen car, at least for last year, would have been good there. I don't know how it would have been this year, given how crappy Vegas was, but I just feel like they made a big mistake here.
Well, and I don't know how everybody else feels about this, but in my opinion, Atlanta was the 1.5 mile track that hasn't been a problem for the entirety of the last 2 decades. I don't remember a time that we went to Atlanta and came home from or not came home, but like turned TV off after the race and said, "Wow, that race sucked." It was always something interesting, usually had some strategy involved with it, and I think a lot of fans somehow got away from the strategy side of Atlanta, and I always thought it was fun to watch the drivers try to wheel the cars around the track. And I know I've griped about the next gen car about this before, not being fun to watch race, but that coupled with the new track, it's just boy, I was almost glad I was at work instead of watching the race.
Yeah, literally, we had that conversation after you got off work, and you were like, wow, the race is already over. And I was like, yeah, you didn't miss a thing. Literally didn't miss a thing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a crash that took out a whole bunch of competitive cars in the late stages of the race, and that's about it.
Yeah. Outside of that, it was a train for 90% of the time, and then a pass for the lead on the last lap that I can't even remember how it was done. It was that unforgettable. I just
Unforgettable.
Yep. That should be Atlanta's slogan now. Unforgettable. Atlanta Motor Speedway. Unforgettable racing.
I think
Wait.
you got that one backwards, buddy.
Yes. Yes, I do.
I was making fun of you for that.
Yes, you were.
I was making fun of you for that. You ran with it.
Yes, you were. I doubled down on my own stupidity as I hit the mic.
Oh my God.
I'm tripling down on my own stupidity tonight.
Man. And with the new mic, I caught you in 4K quality.
That's right. And this
God
is when everybody tunes out.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
Good job,
Atlanta. This is what Atlanta does. This is what new Atlanta does to me.
Just makes you feel like this. Makes you feel like you're turning into Garth.
Yep.
Ugh.
Forgettable is what I was going for.
Yeah.
Atlanta Motor Speedway, forgettable racing. That's where I was going with that. 5 minutes later, we finally got it.
See, the worst thing about this to me, we mentioned this like 5 minutes ago. I always loved watching Atlanta, and now it's just, If I wanted to watch New Atlanta, I would just take Daytona and go.
Yeah, it's literally it's one of those races on the schedule now where I literally go, I don't need to watch this. I don't feel the need. I know I'm not going to enjoy it. I don't feel like I need to watch this. It's right up there with Texas.
Yeah, and I don't know. I wish there was a different package we could put on this track, because I noticed they had big ass spoilers on the cars this weekend. I wonder if you gave them like the super low downforce setup with the super high horsepower, if it would help at all. But then I think you're getting a little bit too fast for the track.
I was about to say, you'd probably be doing about 240 then.
That'd be cool.
Well, it would be until somebody literally takes off and leaves the track.
Right? I don't know. I just... There's no way to make it interesting. You're always going to have this stupid pack racing on a 1.5-mile track that... It's just a mess. I don't know what the thought process there was, but whatever.
I mean, I know what the thought process was. They wanted something new and different, and they wanted to spice things up and make it more exciting. And they were like, oh, well, we're going to have to repave Atlanta soon anyway, so let's do it to Atlanta, which I guess is a fine thought process. Yeah, I know. I guess is a fine thought process, except that your idea didn't pan out. And I still think Texas is far enough past close enough to its repave point that it could have been done to Texas and it would have been understandable.
Boy, Texas doesn't need a repave. It needs a demo.
Well, yeah. But the thing is, if they'd done it to Texas, yes, it still would have been bad. It wouldn't have been great racing, but it would at least be an improvement for Texas, whereas it's made Atlanta worse.
You can't make Texas worse, but...
You say that, and I have a feeling they're going to come up with something when they do decide to change Texas that's going to make it worse. I mean, I've heard rumors that it's supposed to get the Atlanta treatment soon too.
Jeez.
Yeah. I don't know how
already ruined
soon
Texas
is.
once. I mean,
yeah. But again, like I said, that would be an improvement for Texas, which isn't saying much, but
until IndyCar shows up, and then you're going to kill like 6 people.
IndyCar won't show up in that case. I guarantee you,
Probably
if they
not.
do that to Texas, Indy won't go.
IndyCar wouldn't. They don't even go to Fontana. Well, can't go to Fontana anymore, but
they might when it's a short track.
I don't know. If the Fontana redo works out the way I think it looks like, Indy cars might bottom out every time they go in the corner.
Yeah.
High banking, I mean, you don't see Indy cars racing at Bristol.
Well, that's true.
I don't know. They quit going to Fontana because of the pack racing. Texas, they kind of started doing some pack racing, and then they
Which is
redid the
sad because
track.
the last Fontana race they did is generally accepted as a really good race.
Generally accepted as one of the best races of that car and package in general.
Yeah.
That track was fun, and I know Connor Daly's alluded to this. A couple other drivers, I think Tony Kanaan, Scott Dixon, they loved that racing. And I mean, yeah, you would get some scary crashes, but that's kind of just a part of it, I think. Yeah. I think most of the drivers accept that every time they get in the car, and the ones that don't can not show up to that race as far as I'm concerned. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, speaking of open wheel stuff, that gives us an interesting segue into the F1 race today, which really, I would say not a lot happened, but Verstappen didn't win this week because he got
the actual racing made Atlanta look good.
Yeah, well,
which is just normal for F1, but
right. So Verstappen didn't make it out of the first round of qualifying, so he was digging out of like a P15
or something.
Start. Yeah. Okay, so maybe he made it to the second round because isn't P15 the second round?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so yeah, he didn't make it out of the second round, digging out of a P15 starting spot. Still made it up to second because he's Max Verstappen in a Red Bull car, which is far away the best car.
But he thought he was having a drive shaft problem, which doesn't make sense to me. They told him to back off the pace a little bit if he thought he had a drive shaft problem. Like, your drive shaft isn't going to fail if you go 198, but it will if you go 201.
Right.
I'm not really sure I understand that one, but okay.
I have a feeling that had more to do with they were just trying to appease Perez at that point, and they knew it would piss him off if they let Verstappen win at that point, when Perez had, I think, led every lap in the race.
It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case.
Yeah, so I think they were just trying to appease Checo and just be like, okay, you can have this one, buddy. We're going to let Max win the next 18, but you can have this one.
Well, Alonso got his 100th podium and then didn't.
And then didn't, and then got it back. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. How do you... Because that pit stop that they penalized him for was what, like 27, 28 laps before the end of the race?
Yeah.
And they don't say anything about looking at it until after the race. And all of a sudden, oh, that's under investigation now, and he might get a 10-second time penalty.
Well, interestingly enough, he was more than 5 seconds ahead of George Russell, but less than 10 seconds ahead. So it was kind of like they just pulled 10 seconds out of their rear end just to put him behind Russell, which I'm not going to get into politics of F1, but it was a little bit sketchy. I saw it mentioned somewhere.
I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Rumors is not the word I'm looking for.
Allegations, maybe?
Allegations. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. There are allegations that Mercedes is kind of in the current FIA's back pocket.
Yeah.
So that kind of lended credence to that until Alonso went, hey, no. You can't penalize me for that because you didn't penalize this other guy for it. So give me my spot back. Give me my 100th podium back. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess we have to.
What a way to get your 100th, which, by the way, that's an insane number. And Alonso's been good for a while, but I don't know. Ferrari decided to Ferrari again this week.
I really think it's amazing to me how I really think Aston Martin is the second best car in F1 this year. They've actually surpassed Ferrari even.
I'd agree.
Which is a huge jump. And just think about this. All it takes is one race for both Red Bull cars to have issues, and Alonso could win another race. That very likely could happen this year.
It could. I thought it was funny. The official F1 TikTok page posted something that was making a joke about Verstappen, Perez, and Alonso being in the top 3 in every session so far this season. I'm like, that's not good.
No,
I don't think. That's why people don't watch F1. It's because, oh, look, these 3 people are going to be here. Okay. I
Right.
mean,
when you know who the podium is going to be practically every race, what's the point in watching?
yeah,
Like,
we've had
what am I missing to not watch this? To not watch Max Verstappen win by half a lap over Checo, who is 3 corners ahead of Alonso?
Right. We've had, 5 or 6 NASCAR races this year, and only one person's won twice.
Yeah. Wait, who's won twice?
Byron.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Another Garth moment. Of course you remember that Byron's won twice.
It was the last 2 races.
Fair enough. Well, no, now it was 2 of the last 3.
Does Atlanta really count as a race?
I mean,
doesn't really.
Technically, yes.
It's about as fun as watching a Kentucky Derby.
I mean, at least the Kentucky Derby's over after like 60 seconds.
At least you don't have to waste your entire afternoon on a Kentucky Derby.
That was such a like. There's so many other things. Hopefully, my bosses aren't watching this, but there's so many other things I could have been doing at work instead of watching that race. I mean, it was a Sunday. There wasn't much going on in the first place, but so many other things I could have been doing with my Sunday afternoon. Yet I decided to watch a train go around Atlanta for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Biggest waste of an afternoon ever. If you
don't worry, in like 2 weeks, you get IndyCar at Texas.
Texas, so it'll be about the same.
I don't even think that's on live cable TV. I think that's only on Peacock. Which,
yeah, I think we were talking about that after St. Pete.
IndyCar's marketing confuses the crap out of me. Why in the hell would you take arguably the worst race that you're going to have all year and make that the one that you have to buy a subscription for?
Because we talked about this after St. Pete. I guarantee the thought process is nobody's going to be watching it anyway. So why put it on big NBC or USA when it's not going to garner enough ratings to make the commercial partners happy? So just put it on Peacock, and the people that want to watch it can watch it, and you're not taking up space on USA and big NBC that could be used by something else that's going to have bigger ratings.
God forbid I not be able to watch cooking on USA on a Sunday afternoon, instead have to watch an IndyCar race.
The sad thing is that probably does pull bigger ratings than IndyCar at Texas.
Can we please just get rid of Texas? And I never thought I'd say this, but can we also get rid of Atlanta now?
Right. I don't want to get rid of either one. I just want them fixed.
You can't fix Texas.
Oh, I'll bet you could. Because all you got to do is...
with a bulldozer.
Well...
I would actually... Okay, if you had a bulldozer race at Texas, I would watch that on repeat.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. All they've got to do is fix turns 1 and 2 and put the banking back in, and hypothetically, you've probably got it fixed.
Yeah. I mean, if they just hadn't touched it a couple years ago, it'd probably be fine. But
you mentioned bulldozer racing, and that reminds me of my joke about when ARCA has a rain delay at a track that they're not there with NASCAR, so there's not going to be any jet dryers or air titans or anything. Literally, all the officials go out in their personal cars and just make laps around to put heat in the track. And I always call it the ARCA pickup minivan and all things weird series.
Oh, dude, that'd be awesome.
It is. It's really
Imagine
cool.
you just like volunteer to wave flags for ARCA one.
I volunteered for that at Milwaukee, and I was told that I could, and then it never rained enough to where they actually had to dry the track. I was so disappointed.
Man.
I was totally going to do it, too.
Of course, then you would have had like the one guy that's gung-ho in a Corvette or something that goes flying around the track and crashes into somebody. Now ARCA's got a lawsuit in their hands.
Well, I think it's only supposed to be officials or like, I guess in my case, media. You're not going to let just like a fan out there to drive around. It's got to be somebody that they know.
I would argue that letting media out there would make it kind of a fiasco, but
true.
Especially if that media is you.
Fair point.
If they let us out there, they'd let anybody out there.
That's probably true. And to be honest, when I was told yes that I could, it was probably sarcasm.
Probably.
It probably was. They probably never had any intention of letting me out there in the first place. To be honest,
They probably
if I
looked
was
at the
them, I wouldn't
forecast
let me
and
out
saw
there.
like they probably looked at the forecast and saw sunny and 75 and said, "Yeah, sure, you can do it, Garth."
Well, no, it did rain that day, but it didn't rain. Well, no, there was rain around. If I remember correctly, there was rain around, and I think it skirted around the track, so it never actually did rain at the track, is what it was.
Arca's master plan.
That's right. Vortex theory at its finest, except that they weren't on track yet. So vortex theory couldn't have been a thing yet.
Oh my gosh.
I honestly, okay, sidebar. I honestly 100% believe in vortex theory. 100%. I have seen it happen too many times where there has been rain all around the track, but if the cars are going around at speed, it does not rain on the track. Yet as soon as it goes under caution or they finish the race, monsoon. I've seen it too many times not to believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You got some points there.
Yeah.
I can't really argue with that.
You think about it, they're going around there so fast, they make an actual like air vortex, which hypothetically you would think as long as it's strong enough, it would push the rain clouds around that vortex.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, you don't feel the wind from the stands like 4 rows back. So I don't know.
You
there's
do
a
if you're
reason.
standing up at the fence.
I know.
So that's,
I'm just saying,
so yeah,
the physics doesn't really check out.
Yes, it does, because the air is not pushing out to the sides. The air is going up in a vortex.
Disclaimer, neither of us are physics majors. That's why we...
Or meteorologists.
Or that, yeah. At least then, if you're a meteorologist, you only have to be right like 12% of the time. So
this is the internet. We don't have to give disclaimers like that. We can be amateur experts in anything. And some people will believe us, and some people will say we're crackpots and idiots.
It's the latter. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm the crackpot. He's the idiot.
Hey. Maybe an idiot, but I'm not
Would
dumb.
you rather be the crackpot?
I don't know. I may be an idiot, but I'm not stupid.
I don't think those things are mutually exclusive.
Maybe
I think you have to have one to have the other. Okay, I think you can be stupid and not be an idiot, but I think if you're an idiot, you're also stupid. This is quite the rabbit hole we've gone down here and gotten way far away.
We skipped from Atlanta to F1 to Texas to vortex theory to physics to now
in the
physiology.
In the chat, can you be an idiot but not be stupid?
Oh my god. Now we're psychology majors, I guess.
That's right. We're amateur experts in everything on this podcast.
This is what happens when you record a podcast at 3 a.m.
It's not quite 3 a.m. yet.
Okay. It's 2:47. I mean, it's as close to 3 a.m. as you're going to get without it being 3 a.m.
It's only 11:47 in California.
Are we in California?
Mentally, I'm in California.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Fair enough. If you looked at my sleep schedule, you'd think I was in California.
Yeah, right. You'd be going into work at what, like 9:30 instead of? No, it wouldn't be.
No,
it'd be like
11:30. No, yeah, it would be the other direction. So it'd be 12:30.
Is it 3 hours or 4 hours?
It's 3 hours.
Yeah, it's 3 hours.
Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific.
Eastern's the best one, so I don't even bother with the rest of them.
I don't know about that.
I do know about that.
Do you? What are you basing this on?
I don't know. Chicago sucks.
Okay. But that only excludes Central Time. So how is Eastern better than Mountain and Pacific?
I don't know. The mountain time just doesn't exist because nobody lives there.
Well, fair enough. I mean, Phoenix is in mountain time.
Well, we know what we think about Phoenix.
Okay, true. Yeah,
and they just took out Fontana, so I don't really think Pacific time deserves to exist either.
We literally updated our show notes for this, and literally for news this week, all we had under there
Phoenix
is still
still
Phoenix sucks. Yeah.
And nothing changed. Phoenix
Nope.
still sucks.
Yep,
Now,
that is
for
true.
next week, we need to add New Atlanta sucks.
Yes. Yep. News this week. Phoenix still sucks. New Atlanta still sucks. On Dakota.
Moving on.
Yeah.
To a track that sort of doesn't suck, interestingly enough.
With NASCAR, it does.
Yeah.
Outside of Ross Chastain just giving Allmendinger the boot at the end of last season's race, there wasn't much going on.
Yeah, that's what happens when you take NASCAR to a track that was specifically designed for
open wheel cars. Yeah.
Yeah. Not even just open wheel cars, just F1. I mean,
yeah.
IndyCar did pretty okay there.
You can make that argument for Indy too, though. That's why NASCAR sucks on the IMS oval, because that track was built for Indy cars, and stock cars just don't do well there.
Okay. I'm going to give IMS a slide because it was built in like 1909. NASCAR didn't even exist yet. So.
Well, okay. So the shape of the track was built in 1909, but it was not the same surface, and I don't even think it was the same banking. So it's gone through some changes since then to specifically make it a good IndyCar track.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know when it was actually paved.
It's a good track for the best series that shows up in this continent, so.
Yeah, true.
Ooh, Garth agrees that IndyCar is the best.
Honestly, I didn't even listen to what you said. I just figured I should agree and go with it.
Because I'm right, because IndyCar is awesome.
I mean, I'm not going to deny IndyCar is awesome. It is.
It is. I still would rather watch New Atlanta than Texas.
Yeah. That's sad.
That's
very sad.
Yeah, it sucks. Freaking Texas.
So how about Josh Williams?
Yeah, he's having a fun week this week, I bet.
I bet he is. His whatever penalty, we're assuming a lot of things here. If he gets a penalty, it
definitely will.
Well, we don't know that at the time of recording. So I'm gonna say if he gets a penalty, it will have been announced by the time this is out. So obviously we don't know yet since we're recording this Sunday night. But if he gets a penalty, I am imagining it will be quite stiff.
Yeah, and I don't really see a scenario in which they don't penalize him because he kind of showed up NASCAR like literally on the start-finish line.
Yep.
Which, honestly, I think is probably one of the most badass things I've ever seen anybody do.
I agree.
Because it was such a weird technicality to even tell him to park it because, a piece of tape fell off his car, and he'd already made it up to minimum speed, and they'd already started the race back up again, and they put it back under caution because the tape fell off his car, and
so
they
he prolonged the caution.
And it's not his fault that the Xfinity Series decided to crash every 2 laps. I mean,
right. Well, and the thing about it is nobody even knew that was in the rule book. Apparently it is in the rule book. Nobody knew that was in the rule book. Yeah.
Not even the announcers knew that was in a rule book.
Exactly. But apparently it is because I've seen it since then. It is in the rule book. Nobody knew it was there. So
okay, well, I can think of several different drivers that should have gotten parked because of that rule, but okay.
Right. It's typical NASCAR selective enforcement on rules. They don't enforce everything. Like, I guarantee you if this was a different driver, they wouldn't have enforced it.
Yeah. I bet you Chase Elliott wouldn't have been enforced.
I wasn't
That
going to
would have been
say
funny as
anything.
hell to see. Okay, I like Chase Elliott. That would have been funnier than crap to see NASCAR park Chase Elliott at Atlanta.
Yep,
I would have
absolutely.
laughed for a week about that.
Oh no, Landon's going to be yelling at us again.
I like Chase Elliott, but
We hate
God, that
Chase
would have
on
been
here.
funny.
Oh, we just hate Chase so much. He's so
I made some anti Dale Earnhardt Jr. comments earlier. Now I feel
You
like I'm
did.
just gonna get shot.
Yep. And you're gonna get the pitchforks out for
Yeah,
Tyler.
yeah.
Did I send you the video? I think it was Noah Lewis that posted it on Twitter, of what Josh was saying right after he had walked back to pit road. I think he was talking to Mario Goslin, his team owner. Did I send you that video?
I think I saw it. I don't remember.
Yeah. Something to the effect of what's he gonna do? Fine me? I can't
Oh,
pay
you
it.
can't pay it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, really though, if you're NASCAR and the guy that just parked his car in your start finish line and walked out says, "What are they gonna do? Fine me? I can't pay it." Checkmate. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
You can't fine him because you're not going to get any money out of it.
They will though, because Denny
I know
Hamlin's
they
already
will.
said he would pay it. Did you not see that?
No, I didn't. That's funny.
Yeah, literally immediately after, Denny tweeted, "I'll pay the fine for you, Josh."
That's good.
Yep.
Denny Hamlin on a redemption arc for about 2 seconds this week.
That's right. Yeah. How about?
Man, that was about the funniest sequence I've ever seen.
I know, right?
The whole Josh Williams thing. And then they didn't even give him the decency of a quick little trial or whatever at NASCAR hauler. They made him sit there for 2.5 hours until the wreck fest is over.
I love the whole. If you watch the Noah Lewis video, you'll see that if you saw in the broadcast, you'll see that Regan Smith tried to interview him, and then he immediately gets whisked away to go to what Regan said was to go to the care center. Turns out he was just going to the NASCAR hauler, and they made him sit there forever. But what's funny is, if you watch that Noah Lewis video, you'll see him walk over. Wendy Venturini with PRN comes up to him to try and get an interview, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll do an interview," and he starts walking over, and then Regan immediately walks up and tells Wendy, "Oh no, we can't interview him. He's got to go to the care center." And then Regan immediately steps in to try and interview him.
Regan Smith, a company man.
Right?
Gosh. I don't know. It was funnier than crap to see, though. I wasn't watching the race when that happened. I came back and just saw the shit show that hit Twitter right after that. That was funny. And more power to Josh Williams. I mean, I think it's a BS rule that they threw on him there. And I understand it's a rule and they have to enforce the rules, but it is a pretty stupid rule. You got people taking each other out. Denny Hamlin openly admitting to taking out Ross Chastain last week, and now you're gonna park a guy for tape falling off of his car. Give him better tape. I don't know. Figure it out.
Well, apparently Bear Bond does not stick well in cold weather, and I guess it was pretty cold yesterday.
Yeah, they mentioned that. I guess you could see it kind of starting to peel off, and I just feel like there's a better stepping stone of don't just park the guy because tape fell off his car. Right? Say, like, hey, come fix it. I mean,
right? You would think NASCAR would understand if everybody else understands that Bear Bond does not hold well in cold weather. You would think NASCAR would understand that as well and be a little more lenient.
Well, you're asking NASCAR to be understanding and lenient, so
that's true. It's about like
they will not be understanding and lenient with Josh Williams this week. I don't think.
No, probably not.
I don't think we'll be seeing Josh Williams in a car for a hot minute at least.
Yeah, that's about like asking F1 to side with somebody that's not Mercedes.
Gosh.
So you mentioned it, and we started talking about this before the podcast, and I stopped our conversation in our tracks because I knew we could have a good discussion about this on the podcast. Denny Hamlin and his comments on his podcast last week, Actions Detrimental, talking about how he had his like last lap or 2 to go or whatever it was, incident with Ross Chastain where he just kind of shot up the track and they both went into the wall at the end of the race at Phoenix. And then he flat out admitted on his podcast, I just let the wheel go. He's like, I had old tires. I knew I was going to drop back 10 or 15 spots anyway. I saw Ross to my outside. I saw an opportunity to take him out and not anybody else. So I just let the wheel go and let the car do whatever it was going to do. And NASCAR fined him for that. He initially
it's a $50,000 fine,
which to him is nothing.
That's like, why even bother writing the paperwork for that? You know,
to say that they penalized him. They know that money means nothing to him. They're making a statement, is what they're doing.
It's like penalizing one regular season point in a playoff format. It's stupid,
right? So he initially had said he was not going to appeal it, and then like everybody came out of the woodwork this week and said that he should appeal it. So then he did a 180 and decided he is going to appeal it now, which personally I agree. I know we differ on this. I think he should appeal it because honestly, I don't think he should have been penalized for that. Personally, I think podcasts should be a safe space for drivers when talking about things like that, because personally, I see that as being different than if he got out right after the race. They did a post-race interview with him on pit road, and he was like, yeah, I just wrecked him. This is 2 days later. He's had time to compose his thoughts, to think about things, and it's already in the past. It's already like 2 to 3 days in the past whenever the podcast came out. So it's done. It's over with. If you wanted to penalize him for it, I know he didn't say anything until 2 or 3 days later, so there really wasn't anything to penalize him for immediately after the race. But if you were going to penalize him, the window of opportunity for that should be day of race. Anything done day of race, anything said day of race should be open game for penalties. After that, unless it's like failing a drug test or getting a DUI or something like that, anything outside of the track should be off limits for getting a penalty. And my reasoning for this, specifically with podcasts, is if you've got drivers like Denny who are going to be coming on doing their own podcast, you want them to be candid, you want them to be honest, because that's how you get the best podcast. Denny has had a fantastic podcast so far. I've loved listening to that podcast, getting his insight on things, getting his thoughts on things that you don't normally get. But if he's going to start getting penalized for things that he says on there, that might temper what he's going to say on there, and you're not going to get the whole truth out of him in the future if he's got in the back of his mind, well, I can't tell exactly what my thought process here was, because if I do, I might get fined for this.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of thoughts on this too. First of all, I think Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain both need to grow the hell up.
Apparently, they called a truce after this. Because
I thought they did that like in the middle of the season last year too.
Apparently this was payback for the clash. So
when's it stop? Now Denny's paid Ross back. When's Ross going to pay Denny back? Well, I don't understand why they keep going neck and neck at each other. And it's not even like they're not even racing each other competitively on the track. They just see each other and go, "Oh, I'm going to take you out." And it's stupid. Denny Hamlin's like, what, 10th, 15th, and just sees Ross Chastain go blowing by his outside and goes, "Oh, well, there's Ross, turn right." I think NASCAR should have given Denny Hamlin a penalty as soon as it happened. Which
that gets into murky waters though, because unless he admits he did it on purpose, maybe he got a flat tire. You couldn't tell whether or not he had a flat tire or if he had something mechanical break. That gets, you're telling me
with all the instruments they have on these cars, they can't look at it and say that nothing broke. He just hooked it right.
There's no instrument that could tell you that he didn't break a right front toe link in that scenario. If he broke a right front toe link, he's just going to go straight into Ross. And there's no way of being able to tell that. You can look at it and
agree.
Go, yeah, maybe not. But you can't definitively say that. So if they penalize him for that and they don't know for sure that he did that intentionally, that gets into murky waters.
I agree, but with in-car cameras and all that, you can't tell that he just let go of the wheel and went straight into Ross. But, I mean, first of all, they both need to grow up. Get over it. You're ruining everybody else's race by taking each other out at every possible opportunity. We don't need more crashes in NASCAR just because two people don't like each other. If you want to settle a fight, go beat each other up in the parking lot after the race, as far as I'm concerned. But I think NASCAR needed to penalize him, but I don't think they should have waited until his podcast to do so. I think it was fairly clear that he just took him out intentionally as it happened. But I also think that I understand your point with the podcast and not wanting drivers to have to censor themselves. But at the same time, if you're going to take somebody out and then 2 days later go on a podcast and say, I took him out, what's NASCAR supposed to do?
They're supposed to just let him have his free space on the podcast and just let it be at that point. Because if you can't tell in the moment that he did it on purpose, 100% without a doubt, and he doesn't come out and say it in a post-race interview on pit road, or he doesn't tweet it immediately after the race or whatever, then you've lost your moment, in my opinion. After that, if it gets to be Monday morning and there's been nothing definitive to say that he did it on purpose, you've lost your moment to penalize him.
Yeah, I see your point. I don't think NASCAR could sit there and have him say, I took him out, and not at least give him a penalty for it. I think it'll probably be overturned, and I think that's the correct decision because of NASCAR's late call on it. But here's ideally what I would say here is NASCAR needed to give him a penalty because he blatantly said he took him out. But at the same time, I think it needs to be overturned because they took so long to give him a penalty for it. I think even if you just like said it was under investigation or some BS like that as soon as the race is over and then he came out and said he took him out, then yeah, that's a penalty, definitely. But yeah, I think they waited too long, lost their moment. But at the same time, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, and they have to do something or else it's going to turn into the Wild West. So
why does it necessarily have to be a penalty, though? Why can't they just go to him not publicly and say, hey, this isn't cool, grow up, stop wrecking Ross, or next time it will be a penalty, whether you admit you did it intentionally or not?
didn't they do that at Gateway last year?
Not that I remember, but maybe they did.
I thought they came over the radio and told both of them to chill out because they were trying to take each other out every corner.
Maybe. That was the very beginning of all this, wasn't it? That was right where this all started.
I feel like at the same time, if you've already issued that warning, why put up with the bullshit anymore? Give him the penalty.
Yeah.
And it's a $50,000 penalty. What's he gonna do with $50,000? Honestly, if I was him, I'd get the penalty overturned and then just donate the $50,000 as charity or something.
Yeah.
Give it to like Ross Chastain's charity or something like that. I don't know.
Well, apparently they did call a truce after this, because that's another thing he said on the podcast was that he and Ross talked on pit road afterward, and Ross basically said, yeah, I deserved that one, didn't I? And they called a
Ross
truce.
deserves that and about 18 other ones just like it.
Yeah.
But so does Denny, so I don't. I think NASCAR tries to do the self-policing thing, but then every once in a while just throws in a penalty somewhere to where it doesn't really belong. And it's like, you can't have both. Either you can control it or not. And you got to find a happy medium somewhere, and I don't think they're even close to finding it yet, but you know.
At the rate they're going, I'm not sure they will find a happy medium. They've never been good about being consistent on enforcing any rules, whether it be penalty rules or anything. They have never been good about being consistent with anything. So I don't see that ever happening.
No, me neither. It's a really dumb situation, and to me, it all starts with Denny Hamlin just growing up. You can't have been in NASCAR for this long and have this good of a career and then just hook a right on somebody who hasn't done anything to you all race just because you don't like him. You see a number one car go by and you're like, oh, I got to take it out. Like that's so. This is the type of stuff that you see in amateur go-kart videos that pop up on YouTube, and you're like, ban this guy from the track forever. But it's Denny Hamlin, so everybody's like, yeah, take him out. It's stupid. I don't get it.
The other side to that coin is, though, well, let's take what Ross did at the Clash, for example, when he took Denny out at the Clash. If Ross does something like that, and let's say they were even before that, let's say they had called their truce and the rivalry was over before that, and then Ross comes out and does this again at the Clash. If Denny does nothing about that, is he viewed as a pushover? Can Ross just walk all over him after that because Denny never got him back and just let it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I see your point. I guess what I would like to see is if you're going to pay somebody back, do it in the same race. Or if your car gets taken out, then go deck him in the nose after the race or something. I mean, I hate this thing where the Clash was what, 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. Why are we still mad about that? We've had like 6 points races since then.
Drivers have long memories.
I understand that.
They remember who took them out 5 years ago.
I understand being upset about that, but holy hell. That was that long ago, and we're just now taking him out?
Yeah.
Go punch him in the face after the race.
See, and the other problem with saying that if you're going to get him back, it has to be in the same race. What worries me about that is then you get a Zane Smith, Michael Self 2018 Salem situation, which I know you have no idea what I'm talking about with that because that was an ARCA race. So quick backstory on that.
Where they just like fix their car, come flying out of the pits and take them out kind of deal?
Basically, yes. That is exactly what happened. So, how did that go?
So Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano.
Essentially, yes. That is essentially exactly what happened. So one had kind of like just moved the other right before at one point before that. Then it comes back around. The other one, Michael Self dumps Zane Smith for the second time around. So Zane moved Michael Self at one point.
Oh, I remember seeing this.
Yeah. A few laps later, Self, I don't think he did it intentionally, but basically dumps Zane on a restart, destroys Zane's car. Zane goes down into the infield. They fix his car up just enough for him to go back out there. He rides around at the bottom of the track for about 3 laps, very much under speed, until Michael Self catches up to him, hooks a right, puts them both in the wall, and that was his only reason for being out there, was to go out there and get his revenge on Michael Self. So that's kind of the problem I have with saying if you're going to get payback, it has to be in the same race, because then you're going to start getting situations like that. Whereas Denny, I think, was at least smart about it, where if he's going to get payback on Ross, he waited for an opportunity to where it was easy to do, and he wasn't going to affect anyone else's race besides him and Ross when he did that at Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't know. Of course, I think the Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth thing a couple years ago was a load of BS too, because Matt Kenseth said all week he was going to take him out as a first opportunity, and then did, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened!" Like,
right?
He's been saying it all week. It's kind of obvious, but yeah, I don't know. There's just this big thing about NASCAR drivers taking each other out as payback, and I think honestly the playoff format promotes this, because who the hell cares if you're running 18th and 19th? Take them out.
You can win next week and you're still in the playoffs.
Right? And yeah, I think it promotes this kind of behavior, and don't think that's a good thing. Sure, it gives you more drama, which is, I guess, what NASCAR wants, but it just makes them look like kids. And it's honestly kind of pathetic to watch because if you told me that somebody, I don't know, knocks something over and then 2.5 months later, the other person knocks something of theirs over, what the hell? Quit it.
Yeah.
Especially when so many other people, I understand that Denny's like, well, I didn't take anybody else out. Okay. What if you hooked it right into Ross and he went left across the track in front of everybody? Then what?
Well, I agree with that point, but at the same time, Denny was smart enough to do it to where he doored Ross and not to where he left reared him.
Well, I
So
understand that, but I'd like to get to the point where we don't even have Denny hitting him at all.
no, I understand that. I'm just saying that Denny did it, whether you agree with it or not. So
Yeah.
Denny was smart in doing it in the case of he went into Ross's door and not into his left rear. Like, he thought about this. He knew exactly how he was going to hit Ross to where it wouldn't affect anyone else.
Which arguably makes it worse, in my opinion, because now you got a guy thinking about how he's going to take people out, and instead of just racing the race.
It's not like I don't think he thought about this weeks in advance about how he would exactly do it. It's just in the moment, he saw the opportunity. He knew in that moment how he could do it and only affect him and Ross, and executed that.
Yeah. I just... The playoff format just insinuates this, and it's like in a full season points scenario, you wouldn't have a guy having a bad race, see another guy go by him, and just decide to turn right and take them both out.
Right.
Because you need the points, and it's just more and more issues that NASCAR has created by themselves in the past couple of years, and I don't think there's really a way to fix it, because now you can't penalize Denny unless you want your drivers to just be absolutely silent outside of driving the car. And it's a sticky situation. I don't know how to fix it. So
the thing is, though, yes, they penalized him, but as we said, it's not a big penalty. They're basically just making a statement with it because
they're saying don't do it.
Well, no. Behind closed doors, what they're actually saying is they like this. They want the drama. That's why we have this playoff format, is they want drama. They want things like this to happen. As long as they don't get hurt, they want things like this to happen. They won't openly admit it. They won't come out and say, yes, this is what we want. We want drivers just taking each other out every week. They want the drama, though.
Yeah,
whether they admit it publicly or not, this is exactly what they want. Now, for the optics, they have to penalize him when he admits it. But
can you imagine if something like this is happening in F1 right now? There'd be heads rolling.
Well, to an extent, there is something like this happening with the Alonso thing. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's kind of the same drama.
Yeah, but you don't have people taking other cars out just because they're mad about something that happened 2 months ago.
I mean, they never admitted it publicly, but I think Max and Lewis might have had a couple run-ins like that a couple years ago when Mercedes was actually
at least
close
with them,
to Red Bull.
if they get together, it's both of them just out. And you're not going to take the whole field with you.
Well, that's what this was, too, though. He didn't take anybody else with him. It was just Denny and Ross.
It takes one wrong hit. One wrong hit, and
it wasn't
the whole field's
a wrong hit, though. It wasn't a wrong hit because he thought about it.
I just hate to see it. I don't like it.
You know what?
I don't like either of them.
Yeah.
I think Ross is kind of an idiot, and I think Denny is about the best way I could put that.
Yeah.
So I don't like either of them. So if they take each other out, then it's a win-win for me. But I do remember it was funny at Gateway when Denny and Ross started going at it, and then Ross hit Chase Elliott, and Chase Elliott was like, okay, I guess we're doing this now, and started beating up both of them.
Yep.
That was funny, but
Yeah.
I think it was embarrassing, but it was funny.
And that's the thing is a lot of these drama moments that NASCAR secretly wants are more embarrassing for the sport than I think what they realize.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an international racing league, like I don't F1, IMSA, whatever, you see these guys just taking each other out on a weekly basis because somebody did something a while back that they didn't like. And you're like, what? Like, what kind of system promotes this? And then it just makes the whole thing look like a joke. And I think long term, this is bad for NASCAR.
Yep.
Short term, yeah, you're going to get a whole lot of headlines, a whole lot of attention on it. But long term, it's not going to be sustainable, I don't think.
No. This is why NASCAR is not looked at very seriously outside of America.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, there's NASCAR fans outside of America, but for the most part, it's not looked at super favorably for the most part. Like F1 kind of every once in a while makes like jokes about NASCAR. IndyCar even sometimes does. Makes jokes about not having to use the gimmicks that NASCAR does. But these are the kind of things why NASCAR isn't taken seriously in other parts of the world and aren't looked at as a real form of racing anymore, because they're more about the entertainment now than they are about the racing product, which if you put a good racing product on the track, that's all the entertainment you need.
Yeah.
But NASCAR seems to have forgotten that.
Yeah. I don't know how we got to this point, but it took a lot of thinking.
It did. But before we wrap up tonight, want to give
probably do race results.
Well, we've covered enough results in talking that we don't necessarily need to do official results. We're already over an hour in. But want to give a shout out to Mr. Tyler over here for being the first one of the two of us to actually get a correct prediction this year. Congratulations.
And you immediately followed it up with one of your own.
I did, yes. I was correct with the Xfinity race, but yes, want to congratulate Christian Eckes for winning the truck race. Big win for him. Good to see him get that win in that McAnally Hilgeman truck. As I said on the Rewind show, I don't think this will be his last win this season. He has shown way too much speed in that truck this season. He's going to go on a multi-win season.
That truck's looked good all year.
Oh, yeah. Much better than it's looked in the past 2 years. I don't know whether that's an indictment on what that 19 truck was before this season, or whether it's an indictment on Derek Krause's driving abilities. I don't want to say it's an indictment on Derek Krause, but I genuinely don't know. I don't know if the truck has gotten that much better this year or if it's basically the same truck it has been. I really don't know. But either way, great to see Christian running up front. He's going to win more races this year. I think he's going to be a legit championship contender this year, and it's going to be fun to watch him go down the stretch like that. Xfinity, Austin Hill is going to run away with the season. Austin Hill is basically Max Verstappen in the Xfinity series this season. So from here on out, I think I'm just going to pick Austin Hill for every Xfinity race.
That's not fair.
No, probably not.
You can only do them every other week.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, congratulations to him as well. And then, of course, Joey Logano winning the Cup race. So ARCA East kicks off their season on Saturday, Five Flags Speedway at Pensacola, 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. On Flow Racing, you can stream it there, or it'll be taped late on USA Network about a week later. I don't know when exactly, but it should be about a week later on USA.
That's a bad deal. That's a bad deal.
What's a bad deal?
On TV a week later? Yikes.
Yeah, I'm sure the ratings for those are not super high, would be my guess.
Especially on Flow, because Flow is just... Yeah. I haven't watched their racing side of it, but the rest of Flow is a little bit not awesome at times.
Well, I mean, the East and the West broadcasts aren't terrible. Charlie Krull, the PR guy for ARCA, does the play-by-play for those on Flow, and he actually does a pretty good job. I do enjoy listening to him do those races, but
they're
not terrible broadcasts.
$150. You can watch ARCA East and West.
I think it's $158 a year is the price.
On top of your cable, you spend another $150
to be fair, there's a lot more than ARCA East and West on there. There's a lot of dirt racing,
World Outlaws, and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know if World of Outlaws specifically, but there's a lot of dirt racing. There's a lot of grassroots stock car racing, like late models, and the modified tour is all on there. There's actually a lot of racing on there. I didn't utilize it as much as I should have last year, so I'm going to try to watch more racing on there and get like a little more bang for my buck this year. But yeah, there's a lot of racing on there that you can pretty much tune in just about any time and find some sort of racing live on there. But and then Circuit of the Americas Cup Xfinity Truck this weekend. Another Saturday doubleheader. Trucks are at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday, followed by Xfinity at 5 p.m. Tyler, who you got for the truck race?
5 p.m. for Circuit of the Americas?
5 p.m. Eastern, so that's like 4 p.m. Central. So
do they have lights?
No, but they'll be done before dark. That'll be a 2-hour race tops. We're in daylight savings time, remember? It's light until like 7:30 now Eastern.
Yeah, it'll be kind of close if they start making it a wreck fest.
Yeah, true.
Because it's
what
happened in Atlanta this week.
It's road course though, so they will have local yellows. There may not be as many full course yellows.
It is the Xfinity series.
True.
All it takes is a guy to park his car on the start-finish line. And then what are you going to do?
Well, he probably won't be in the race this week, so we may not have to worry about that.
Hey, somebody else might get an idea.
Yeah, true. All right, who you got for trucks?
For trucks, going to go with John Hunter Nemechek. We'll see how it goes.
He's not going to be in this race.
How the fuck? Really?
He's not running the full season. He was filling in a couple races until Taylor Gray was old enough to run the 17.
Truck race, I'm going to back myself up from last week. Christian Eckes, I think he's going to take a little bit of that momentum he got this week and take it ahead. Get another one, 2 in a row.
Doubling down. I don't think he's been particularly good at road courses in the past, so that may not be.
This will be the start.
It could be. We have faith.
We got our one win of the season, so now I don't care anymore.
Right. I'm having a hard time picking for this one because I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that I feel like has actually been pretty good at road courses in the past. I don't want to pick Zane Smith again. I don't want to be Tyler and pick the same guy 2 weeks in a row. Zane Smith is the best option I can think of. I think he won this race last year, but I'm not going to go with Zane. Instead, I am going to go with Ben Rhodes. That's somebody I haven't thought about picking yet this season. We're going to go with Ben Rhodes this week to win the truck race. No reason for that outside of it's Ben Rhodes. That's my reasoning. It's
Works
Ben
for
Rhodes.
Me.
All right, Xfinity. Who you got, Tyler?
I'm going to go with AJ Allmendinger. I think, obviously, he's really good at road courses, stepping down the Xfinity Series for the first time this season. I think he's going to vent out some of his Cup Series frustration this year on the rest of the Xfinity field and wipe the floor with them.
Okay, that's actually a very solid pick, and I'm disappointed that you got that pick because that's probably going to be the correct pick. But I have faith in my pick, and I am going to go with the guy you were going to pick for trucks until you realized he wasn't in the truck race. I'm going to go with John Hunter Nemechek to win the Xfinity race. I think he picks up win number 2 for the season. And
I wouldn't be mad if he won. That's a cool looking car this year.
It is. I really do like that scheme. That is a neat one. I would like a race win diecast of that. But
me too.
I'm going AJ Allmendinger and John Hunter Nemechek for Xfinity. Tyler, who you got for the Cup race?
Cup race, I'm going to take Ross Chastain. I think he won this race last year, didn't they?
He did?
Yeah, but he's usually looking pretty good on the road courses in this new next-gen car. I think he'll bring us back the same form he did last year and go back-to-back years at Circuit Americas.
Okay, fair enough. I, though, am going to go with the guy that he punted out of the way in the last corner last year to win this race. And I'm going to double down on your Xfinity pick, and I'm going to take AJ Allmendinger to win the Cup race. Because it's AJ Allmendinger. He might be the best road course ringer in NASCAR right now. So
Okay,
it's
I'm glad you clarified that a little bit because Marcus Ambrose is about to throw hands with you.
Well, fair enough, but he's back in Australia, so
Is he really? I haven't heard from him in a while.
Pretty sure he is. Pretty sure he went back and started doing Australian
V8 supercars or something. Those
yeah.
are so cool.
Yeah, pretty sure he went back to doing that. But yeah, I think Allmendinger gets his first Cup win at COTA this weekend, which I feel like is going to be a big win for him, and we're going to see a big celebration because it's AJ Allmendinger, and it's always a big celebration, even if he finishes last.
Well, hey, tell you what, Connor Daly's going to be at that race too. You think if Dinger wins and has a big old party, if Connor Daly's going to have a good podcast about it?
He probably will. It wouldn't surprise me.
I bet you Connor Daly's on the short list of people that's invited to that party.
He probably is. That would not surprise me. I doubt it's a short list. I bet there's a lot of people that would be invited to that. But
oh yeah,
yes, I'm sure he's on that
the
list.
Short list, not a short list, just the quick list of people.
He's on the list of short people.
No, just like the automatic invite.
He is pretty short, isn't he?
I don't know. I'm only 5'7", so I can't call people short.
That's true. Yeah,
Who else is at the race for Cup this weekend?
We're gonna find this out. Connor Daly height.
Oh gosh. Now we're gonna be on the Speed Street podcast.
He's taller than you.
Look at. I bet he is. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
He's 5'9".
That doesn't surprise me at all.
You know what? You're actually the perfect height to be a race car driver.
Yeah, too bad that
the shorter and the smaller the better. Yeah, same.
Yeah,
I agree.
That didn't even come close to happening. That's why I'm sitting here with you instead of driving home from Atlanta? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very disappointed my parents never got me a go-kart growing up.
I'm so sad that my parents weren't multimillionaires and weren't able to.
You wouldn't even need to be a multimillionaire back then, though. Just get a go-kart and go out and hustle and get sponsors, and that's basically all you got to do. I mean, yeah. I'm making it sound a lot easier than it actually is, but that's essentially the gist of it. As long as you are good in the go-kart and you can go find sponsors, that's most of the work. I say
like
most
5-year-old me needed glasses so bad I probably would have crashed into every stop sign in town. So
yeah, fair enough. I'd believe that with how you do at work.
Hey.
All right,
go sit back down at your desk.
Yeah. On that note, I think we're going to wrap it up for this week. So thanks for hanging out with us. And enjoy the action this week from Circuit of the Americas and Five Flags Speedway. And we will see you next week, same time, same place. Audio version should be out at latest Tuesday this week. I'm going to try to get it out on Monday, but Tuesday at the latest, and then Wednesday, as usual, 6 p.m. Eastern on RNN for the video version. So, at that, I'm Garth. That's Tyler. And this is the Rookie Stripes podcast on Racing News Now.